Shabbat Shalom, sons and daughters of Zion. Amen. Adopted children with the same rights as those born in Israel. What an amazing thing. What an amazing thing. Let's get our identity straightened out. Amen. Let's get our identity. We're B'nai Yisrael. We're adopted. We're into that one true olive tree. The tree of Zion that you're born in. When you read Psalms 87, it says that this man was born here, this man was born there, but the one that's born in Zion, the highest, has established her. You want to be in the book of Zion. To be in the book of Zion is to be in the book of the Lamb's book of life. Amen? Amen. Yes. The wonderful identity. You know, you're betrothed. You know, this Torah portion, this parasha, is Devarim, the first few chapters. But it's when Moses spoke to Israel, but the fact of the matter is you are married to a Jewish groom, Yeshua. What a shock. He's a married man. He's not historically just a Jew. He is forever the man in glory as a Jew. He is forever going to be a priest after the order of Melchizedek. He is right now on the Aron HaKodesh, the Ark of the Covenant, with the blood perfectly put as the Kohen Gadol, as the high priest, whoever lives to make intercession for you so that you make it. Amen? And he is the right hand in whom all the power, all authority comes from him. Amen? Yes. But he's also the only legal heir. One man in glory is the only legal heir to the Davidic dynasty, the government that shall never end, that justice. So the Father awaits this time when he says, go, son, and take that eternal dynasty. But until then, let's talk about the parasha. Amen? We'll go back to that. So the parasha is about when God spoke to Moses to tell the children of Israel. He had to do a recapitulation, a repetition of the same thing over and over, kind of like us. We have to have continually things repeated to us so we finally get it. Usually the first time we don't get it, right? Unfortunately. So Moses had to tell the children once again so that things sink in. Now this is very powerful because this is a time, if any of you whose head is not in the sand, Israel without God is going to be annihilated without God. But because of the covenant, because of what God said to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they will survive and they will prevail because Israel prevails with God. Amen to that. So this is the dire straits. We're coming to the end of the 21 days, the Tish B'Av, the end. When every bad thing happened, the first temple, the second temple, and the spies with the bad report, and the Holocaust 85 years ago, on and on and on. But it's like a doomsday. But remember, they were kicked out of Spain also, and this evil report, only 2 came back with a good report. So are you like part of the 2 or you're part of the 10 that wants to compromise with the Almighty and say, wait a second, let's make a deal, God. No, we're not going to do this. But Moses clearly said to them, do not be terrified, do not be afraid of them. For the Lord your God, he's going to go before you. And he's going to fight for you according to all that he did in Egypt before your very own eyes. Well, how much has it taken our personal life that we can believe God? If he's brought you through all that he's brought you through, certainly you can believe him for an electric bill. You can believe him for whatever portion, pre-trib, mid-trib, a millennial, whatever, all these things that we think are in our heads. It doesn't matter how long we're here, what it looks like. He's going to take care of his bride. That's what we just sang about. Amen? Yes. So, but the problem is it took 40 long years to get to where they got wandering in the wilderness, when the reality was it was an 11-day trek. That's all that it was. This is not good. 11 days to travel to get to the promised land, and they're complaining, they're grumbling, they're rebellious to God. No, that's not to be us. We want to get to our promised land. We want to fulfill our scroll and our destiny in God. So we're not to be afraid. And then you think about it. This Rahab, when the 2 spies went to her, she didn't even see before her eyes like all the children of Israel. She said, the dread of who you are has fallen upon me and my people, and I need you to make a covenant with me. She didn't see all that Israel saw. She says, we only heard. Okay? Think about this. And she understood if she makes a covenant with these two, she's going to survive. But guess what God did for Rahab? If you're anything like Rahab, and whatever your past is, it doesn't matter. She was a harlot, whatever. What did God do? King David, the monarchy, the dynasty, the eternal covenant of God was established through what? She was the great, great, great grandmother of the monarchy. Okay, if you're anything like Rahab, what is God going to do for you in this life and the life to come? Can you think about that? She only heard, she did not see. And so the compromise that we live in, God does that, he's black and white. No. Oh, he understands me, I have a good intention. No, he has laid out the eternal word for us to love, to obey, and if we should, we could be like a great, great, great grandmother. Because Ruth, who cleaved to Naomi, who loved the covenants, who left cursed Moab, she was the great, great grandmother, not the great, great, great grandmother, right? And if you clean your generational line to the fourth generation, what happens? Your whole line is cleaned. You don't have to follow in the masons of your father and your grandfather and your harlot mother. No, you clean that generational line and you will live righteously, amen? God expects it. So the same way, Israel is one that prevails with God. God has a wrestling match with Jacob and ends the all-night wrestling match. And what happens? He takes his socket and pours it out, because breaks it, so he has a limp the rest of his life. Israel and you who are adopted into Israel are only somebody great in the sight of God when you have nothing, you're helpless, you're hopeless, and you don't have pride. If you have pride in your life, trust me, God is looking at Hasatan. He has turned his back, his countenance. But Israel will prevail without a lot of casualties. If you, as the sons and the daughters of Zion, if you pray them in, if you pray in your older brother, Judah and all the tribes, you pray them into the kingdom, they will make it with less casualties. But God has already promised all these wars in Damascus and Psalm 83 and and Armageddon. All of that is what? God's going to do it. But we want him to do it where our people survive, right? That's your job. As a matter of fact, it's your highest mandate. It's your highest mandate to bring our people to Yeshua, because everybody wants to kill him but you. You're the only people in the whole world that are going to pray them in, get them home to Zion, Aliyah. They have to be home for the return of Yeshua. Yeshua's not coming back for those born among the nations. Only the last Yehudi that says what? Baruch haba b'shem Adonai. That's your office, to provoke them to jealousy. Make them mad, they will come into the fold. Intercede for them. God will pour out his spirit upon them, because there's nobody but you to do the work. Amen to that. Yeah. You know, King David, can I tell you something? You know what Hamas is? Hamas is the Nephilim. King David was only one out of a whole army. Did you understand that? He's not just an uncircumcised Philistine. He understood, why did he have to cut his head off? Because the first proto-evangelicon, the first gospel, in the beginning, Genesis 3:15, it says that Messiah will crush the head of Hasatan. Hamas, you think it's just an evil person that did the savagery and the barbaricness, that took newborn babies that were in their cribs and cut their heads off? And then made sure the parents were watching, and then burned them all alive? If your head's not in the sand, that's really what happened. That's not a human spirit. That is the Nephilim. This is the days of Noah you're in, folks. You're in the last days. You are living in the times when the Nephilim are in people and they're walking all over. Are you a King David? He had to cut his head off. Why? Because David knew the first gospel of Genesis 3:15. He knew he had to take the head of the Nephilim and bring it to Jerusalem. Why? Because David said, sing praises to the Lord who dwells in Zion. And geographical Zion has to have the head of the Nephilim. Do you understand? Woo! Is everybody listening? Shema Yisrael. Listen to this. You must be a David in your generation, because that's a testimony to cut off the Nephilim's head, because Yeshua has a city he's coming back to. And you're an inhabitant of Zion. You're the adopted sons and daughters that will dwell with her eternally. So get ready for the Jewish wedding. Yeshua is a Jew. He's a Jewish man. You're part of this Jewish bride made up of all the nations. You're part of this bride of Zion. You have all her inheritance. This wedding is at hand. Is that not exciting to you? Woo, yeah. But listen, you got to love your ketubah. You got to come out of Rome. You got to come out of Babylon. You got to come out of mixture. You got to come all those things. And if you love the marriage contract that Yeshua gave you through the best man Moses on Mount Sinai, ratified with Yeshua in Luke 22, he drank that cup. He's a Jewish groom. How do we know he's still a Jew? Because he took every successive step in acquiring his bride. He drank that cup. What's that cup? That execution stake. And then what happened? He said in Hebrew, Tam v'nishilam, it is finished for my kalah, for my bride. Then he went, what is successive steps of a Jewish wedding? The son goes to the father and he prepares a what? Mansion, right? This is you. Can you imagine what kind of mansion he's preparing for you? This is too big. This is big. Get ready for the Jewish wedding. Get ready, and get ready.